and welcome back to Ace Chat. You probably noticed I am in a new location. I'm visiting my sister and brother-in-law because they're gonna have a baby soon. So if you hear anything in the background, it's probably one of their pets who are very cute but also very loud. I don't know if anyone even cares about the different thing. I just felt like I needed to explain it, and in 2 weeks it'll be back to normal because in a week we'll have another interview. I'm going back and forth between these interview and then one of these sit downs. Let me know what you think. So today I wanted to sit down and talk a little about this concept called the split attraction model. Because the split attraction model is something that I think is not really understood by most people or even known by most people. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding it. So I wanted us to take some time to learn more about what it means, its history, and why this contention exists today, but also why some people embrace this sort of model. So the split attraction model, or SAM, or I haven't heard people say Sam, but I always think Sam. I'm sure people say Sam. But regardless.
At its most basic, the split attraction model says that the way you experience romantic attraction and sexual attraction don't need to match. Basically, your romantic orientation does not need to align with your sexual orientation. You could be asexual and biromantic, you could be aromantic and gay, or you could be aromantic and straight. Any combination is possible. One does not define or preface the other.
Some people will take the term even further and apply it to like aesthetic attraction, sensual attraction. I'm trying to think of all the different attractions. And I don't know what the group consensus is here, because like I said, I've seen both, but I've always seen that romantic and sexual, these don't need to be the same, but they can be, but they are separate, right? They are split. So this concept of split attraction is by no means new. It actually, it might have been even before this, but we know for a fact that in the late 1800s, I believe 1880s, there was this guy, Ulrichs, and he was doing some research into bisexuality, actually, and he kind of came to this conclusion where he was like, well, romantically, you can feel this way, and sexually you can be attracted this way, and they're not always going to align. Yeah, we're starting all the way back in the 1800s. Gonna skip a little bit to 2005. And in 2005, that's when you really saw aces and arrows kind of adopting this concept where they were like, oh yeah, split attraction makes sense for me. I am heteroromantic, but I am asexual, or I am bisexual but aromantic, so it makes sense that just because I'm attracted sexually this way, I don't need to be romantically attracted the same way, or vice versa. Now, when you are not attracted sexually romantically to the same things, I've seen two different terms. One is cross-oriented, the other is vario-oriented. And when they are the same, I can't pronounce it. It's this word. So already more terms, right? And the fact that there are already more terms is one reason why some people pushed against this, but we're not quite there yet. Where we are is in 2015. And in 2015, this term split attraction model starts surfacing amongst aphobic and biphobic people. Not good. So they were basically using this term to be like, hey, why are these people making everything more complicated? Why can't you just say I'm this and leave it at that? And also, I don't experience this kind of cross orientation, so why are you prioritizing yours? And etc., etc. There were a lot of legitimate concerns where it was kind of like erasure of their own identities, where it was, you're making this more complicated for people trying to figure themselves out. The issue there being, of course, that sexuality is complicated. So that one I personally feel kind of mixed about. So I don't actually have a conclusive opinion there. I'm just kind of sharing what I know about this term. So there have been some attempts to essentially reclaim the split attraction model, and it's been kind of successful, kind of not. The categories. It's kind of like, but I don't want to oversimplify this, kind of like how people have tried to take back queer. And it's like, well, but there's a history there, but it's also freeing to people, but it's also complicating, but also things are complicated, but also etc., etc., etc. So where we stand today is that a lot of people do use the split attraction model and do prefer it. It helps them understand that the way they feel is normal, that the way they feel is okay. But again, when you normalize this for one person, it can accidentally erode someone else's experience. Another way I think of it is kind of like how you have some people who are trans and they know that they're a woman and to them, gender is important, right? But then you also have people who say they're agender or that gender isn't real or doesn't matter to them or etc. So much in the same way that we're trying to navigate those conversations, we're trying to navigate this idea of how can the split attraction model be real, but not for everyone? How can it be important and worthwhile, but also have this contentious past? How can it benefit some people and confuse others? Again, not saying that the conversation about gender is exactly equivalent to this conversation, but this idea of an identity marker being really important to someone, but being in flux with someone else's identity marker, we have seen throughout all of history. But I still think there's space where someone can use the split attraction model and say, this makes sense to me. And it makes it so I can better make sense to other people when I'm trying to explain myself, when I'm trying to share myself. While others can say, that's not for me, you do you. And overall, I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? We're constantly coming up with new words and terms and ideas to help better understand ourselves and to better explore and explain ourselves. And why they need to be true of everyone, there are very few universal truths. Most philosophers, I think, will tell you there are none. So if you've got one that works for you, great. And if it doesn't work for someone else, don't tell them they have to use it. So that's why I think it's worthwhile to know about, because again, it can be a resource, but if just presented as is, it can make things more complicated for people in a way that it doesn't need to be. So yeah, split attraction model, not an easy concept. There's actually more I could cover on it, just not within the confines of like a 10-minute video, especially because the cats are being loud. I keep like editing them out, but they're the dog is being good though. Just noting that. In any case, if you feel strongly about using or not using this model, would love to know down below. If this is entirely new to you and you still have questions, would also love to know. And if you have stuff you want to add to this chat, please do, because it is meant to be a chat. I know I'm just chatting with myself right now, but I'm not all knowing on this subject or any others. I just do the research, just know based on my experience in these communities, having talked to other people, just seen them in forums. But yeah, you probably have different experiences with the term, different understanding of it, would love to know more. As always, this has been Ace Chat, and if you would like to join, the cats are distracting me, I'm gonna go feed them. And if you would like to join the chat, please reach out to acechathats@gmail.com. Even if you wanna just like sit down and discuss one of these concepts with me, would always love a talking buddy. Also, please follow our Instagram and Twitter. We're revving up the content on Twitter. Gonna get a Facebook out soon. More details later. And the Instagram, we have 3 profiles that we post every single week. So if you want to hear more Ace stories, that's the place to do it. But on that note, I'm Marissa, and thanks for chatting with me.